I've been in leadership roles for a long, long time. And I think that's part of why WorkWave's been able to do what we've done in the 4 years that I've been here. I've been here 4 years this week. Because I came out of college as an officer in the Army for 4 years. And then it went into a very heavy duty operations leadership environment as a service manager. So just by sheer coincidence, I started my career in a management leadership roles within field service. So now, 3 decades later, it's helped me understand where the customers are coming from.
All right, so we've got David Giannetto here with us today with WorkWave. David, how you doing?
Hey, good to be with you, Rusty. Thank you.
Absolutely, and as always, we've got Maria Lopez. Maria, what's up?
I'm doing well. Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, so getting ready for that.
It's also something else tomorrow, Maria. What else is tomorrow? Something else is happening.
It's my birthday.
and
Happy
you're
birthday.
going to be celebrating, right? And taking a week off.
Yeah, I'm reconsidering now, so I'll get with you on that after.
Too much to do, too much going on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, David, man, I really appreciate you joining us today. I'm really excited to have you. A lot of people have met you or heard your name throughout the industry. Obviously, PestPack WorkWave is a leader in what you guys do in our industry and other industry and verticals, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. So, and I really appreciate you being here today.
No, happy to be with you. Always happy to talk about where WorkWave fits into the world. And I wouldn't have thought pest control would be such a big part of my life, but I talk about pest control a lot these days.
Man, that makes two of us. And I know I was telling you sort of offline that our company, our pest control company, is still considered a startup. I think July will be 3 years and when we service our very first customer. So we're very much brand new into this industry, even though it feels like, we're going on a 3-year run here, which is crazy. Time flies.
I don't know, $2-3 million, as pest control company goes, that's getting there. You only have to get to 5-6 million to be considered one of the top 100.
Well, that's what we're shooting for. And we've got a lot of good people around us, learning from people like you and others in the industry that are willing to share. And I've shared this on other episodes. There's a whole episode we did about finding mentors or finding people that you can learn from. Maria will attest to this. I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, I don't know something. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. If I ever am, you better get out because you're in the wrong room. But we love to learn from people and bring different perspectives. So let's start off talking about your background. I know we shared a little bio before you came on, but tell us a little bit about your background and, just a few minutes and your journey to where you've gotten to where you are today.
Yeah. I've been at this a long time. I think some people fortunately don't realize, I just turned 55 a few weeks ago. So I've been in leadership roles for a long, long time. And I think that's part of why WorkWave's been able to do what we've done in the 4 years that I've been here. I've been here 4 years this week. Because I came out of college as an officer in the Army for 4 years. And then it went into a very heavy duty operations leadership environment as a service manager. So just by sheer coincidence, I started my career in a management leadership roles within field service. So now, 3 decades later, it's helped me understand where the customers are coming from. And in between that service operations decade of my career when I started, and now I was a business consultant for about 10 years and worked in many, many different environments. The company I was with, the group called Cone Resnick, which is a super regional here in the Northeast, they did a lot of work with founders who are transitioning into second generation or selling the company or becoming backed by PE, which is a lot of what pest owners are going through. So I worked with those type of owners as a consultant for 10 years and moved more and more towards technology and software, a lot of business intelligence and analytics in my background. And that took me up into larger enterprise customers. And then about 10 years ago, I transitioned into software, purely software, and ended up in field service. And the company prior to WorkWave was one of the leaders in field service. And I came into WorkWave 4 years ago But that background, I think, allowed me to kind of understand the landscape of WorkWave, because when I came in, WorkWave is a $50 million company, but it is one of the most complex companies of our size that you're going to come across in your career.
Wow. So 50 million when you came on board. Where's WorkWave now, 4 years later? What does it look like 4 years ago? And what does it look like now today? And what are we, mid-March in 2023?
Sure. So 4 years ago, it was about 50 million, profitable, growing, not growing like we're going now. About 275 employees, predominantly North America, predominantly here in New Jersey, where we're headquartered, where I am. And 4 years, and it mostly pests. Everyone knows PestPac. 4 years later, we just released a statement. So we closed over 400 million.
Wow.
Very focused on profitable growth, which is what you want to be focused on right now. We can see the negative impact of all the changes in the market are having on some of our competitors who didn't believe in that. So they're all suffering right now, whereas we're doing pretty good. We have about 1,300 employees. We are global now. So we have offices in London, Italy, and Melbourne, Australia, as well as the offices in the US. Still predominantly North American, probably 80% North America. And pest would make up about a third of the company right now. So we have changed quite a bit. And I think some of the work that we've done has really changed the whole landscape of field service software providers, at least in the English speaking part of the world.
Absolutely. So you guys are global. I don't know if I realize that. You talk about different verticals. What are the different verticals under WorkWave?
So we have
Festival being one of them.
Yeah, it is. And of course, where WorkWave originally came from, Marathon Data Systems back in the old days. So we are considered the leading provider in the pest verticals, the green verticals, and green because everything green, lawn care, lawn maintenance, arbor, hardscaping software, softscaping, cleaning, janitorial, and roving guard security. So corporate guards, event guards, guards that travel around communities on routes. And then we have many, many other verticals. We have a last mile platform. We have ServMan, which is asset-based, so HVAC mechanical. And then as you go down market to small businesses, we service every type of service company that there is. Pool, hearth, spa, you name it. We have thousands of customers that do all sorts of service stuff.
Gotcha. Wow, that's a lot. So you're exposed to a lot, and I think you can learn from other industries. And that's been my experience. So I'm sure you can see a lot of value created just by learning from the maybe other verticals you're in.
Yeah, and I was COO of Astia before I got here. They were a field service software provider to large global multi-language, multi-currency companies like Honeywell, Schneider, those big players in service. And coming into WorkWave, and at the time it was just the pest industry, I had already seen what those industries were doing. And those industries like medical device companies, they tend to be very progressive, and technology is very much driving those industries forward. So they're quite a bit ahead of pest control in how those industries are evolving. And now we're starting to see pest control starting to evolve more. And I think WorkWave's having a hand in that, because what we do influences 70% of the industry. We probably have 70% of the North American market on PestPac or WorkWave technology at this point.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk in a little bit. I'm going to save it for a little bit later on in this episode. We're going to talk about maybe the future of pest control with the service from a technology standpoint, customer experience. But let's talk about the evolution of PestPac. Tell us about the history of PestPac, and that's most people in the industry, that's what they know, right? When I first was looking to start our company, I'm asking people, what software do you recommend? And obviously PestPac is one of the first ones that came up. Talk about the evolution of the company of when it began and where has it been, and then where it's going, because in the software world and just technology world, we talk about it all the time on this podcast, is changing so fast. In my opinion, technology has changed so fast in the last 3 to 5 years. It seems like than what it changed the previous 20 years, and you would know better than me. But let's talk about that evolution, and then where is PestPac going into the future?
Yeah, we could spend all day on where it's going, and WorkWave's rolling it. So WorkWave's been around 40 years, long before me. It's been a very good company long before me. About 25 years ago, it partnered with some pest control leaders, and the owner of Marathon Data System partnered with them, and they built what was the first structure of PestPack. And it quickly grew to become the industry leading software solution for pest control. And it's been really the dominant solution within pest control for 25 years. So to maintain market leadership for 25 years is really unheard of in any industry, let alone software. It went through various stages of ownership, and the ownership and the structure of a company really does affect its strategy and how it thinks. And WorkWave went through that period of time where it sold into its first private equity group. And right before I came in, WorkWave was really a bit detached from the market. A lot of the customers were very frustrated because it wasn't driving the technology ahead, but it was still a market leader. But at that turning point where you can lose market leadership if you don't really engage with the industry and the customer base and start driving the technology forward. That's when I came in. That's what we started to do. We had great ownership with one of the larger private equity firms called EQT. Mm-hmm. And we really believed in building a company for the future, not just having the cycles of one PE company buying it, 3 years, selling it. We wanted to build something lasting. That's what I believed in. That's what EQT believed in. So we started on this journey of really reconnecting to the industry and to the customers. I went out there a lot personally and tried to meet the folks, let them know that we would do the right thing, that we would take the company in a direction that would give them what they needed to, as we say, reach their full potential as a company, whatever they wanted to become, if it was just stay small or grow massively or just be more profitable or sell to one of the big players. You know, you decide what you want to be and we'll help you reach your full potential within those choices. And I think within the pest community over the 4 years, I think anyone who's engaged with us, I do think they feel like we kept our word. It's a very different company. It is very customer focused now. We're very present in the industry. We're one of the biggest supporters of NPMA and what they're doing, and try to help them get where they want to go. So it's been an interesting 4 years, and now we're at the point where we've solved most of the technology problems in PestPack. There are things we wish we could do and are doing right now, like true modernization of the front end. So it looks and feels more modern, but all the core functionality, all the robustness, bulletproofing, all that stuff we've got behind us, and we can really focus on driving the technology ahead in a way that gives the customers things they're not used to. And that's really the biggest challenge for us right now. Is the world of software has changed from in the beginning, it was one of two things. It was, we're giving you the software, this is the way it works, and we expect you to conform to it. Or we're giving you software, you're then coming back and telling us how you want to customize it. We're customizing it for you. And now we're creating the spaghetti mess, which we've been unwinding for the past 4 years in PestPack. We've moved away from that customization to create a much more stable, robust, capable platform. And now we're in a place where we're giving you tool sets. And it's really creating a challenge for the ownership in pest control, because maybe for the first time, they have to sit down and say, what do I want my customer experience to be like? PestPack is giving me the ability to interact with my customer in many different ways, physically, through physical interactions, not just with people, but with hard mailings, because we have the biggest print shop supporting the industry, which people don't even know. All of the texting that can be done, pictures that can be sent, different type of forms that can be created, but it's a tool set. And now the leadership in a pest company has to say, who are we really? We can be more of what we want. What is our strategy? What is our approach? And some of them are not used to thinking that way. So they struggle more than we intend them to struggle. So it's an interesting phase of change for us.
Yeah. And two, I think, you guys have, with the platform that you have to influence the industry and to create value for your customers, right, who are then trying to create value for their customers. I think sharing best practices and showing you guys are going to be the front end of technology. Now, that doesn't mean you can roll out technology just like this to everybody. And you hit the nail on the head. I can imagine what you guys go through. You mentioned the spaghetti, right? So I've used other softwares with our insurance company, and it's like you reach out to them, hey, if you guys could just do this, this, and this, it'd be perfect. I really need this, and then what you find is you can't be, unless it's a scalable tool, that you can put out there, right? You can't just customize it to every single user. There has to be some scalability and efficiency, but I also think you guys have an opportunity to educate pest control owners or business owners out there where customer experience is going and why you're incorporating certain tools to where then they can then implement it, right? Because we get blinders on in our business as a small business owner. Sometimes you don't think how important it is to have that print ability to send a postcard to a customer or to text that, to do text communication. We're fortunate. We were born in the middle of a pandemic with Pruitt Pest Control. So we get to create this pretty much the way we see it as it should be today, right? Well, the companies that have been around for 20 years, they get stuck in their groove, good or bad, right? And so I think you guys have that opportunity to show where technology can ultimately give the customer a better experience. And that's what it's about, right? It's not just a CRM, customer management system or whatever. It's about what experience do we want that customer to have to buy more from us, to retain longer, right? How can we use technology to support that?
Yeah. We can talk about technology all day, but I think the longer I'm in my career, the more I realize that it has a lot more to do with leadership and the culture that's created in the company. And that doesn't matter if you're software or pest control, because leaders have, at WorkWave, we have certain parts of our culture that hinder us. For example, WorkWave comes from this origin of tell us what you want it to do, and we will make it do that. And therefore, we are not as prescriptive to customers as we should be now in 2023, because what we should be doing is saying, this is best practice. This is how it's built to work. Use it this way. And we're not as good at that as we should be. We're trying constantly to get better at that. But within the pest community, what we see is two types of leaders. One, where the industry is going is a much better focus on efficiency of operations, because there is a best practice way to run the operation of a pest control company. Now, there might be nuances if you're killing bed bugs or focused on termites or inside the house or outside the house. There's nuances, but it should operationally run one way. And as private equity comes into pest control and is buying up more companies, they're very forward-looking. They're very efficiency focused. They will create a better model than an old school pest control owner or founder who says, no, I want to do it this way. And all of the technology is moving away from that concept of you can make it any way you want, because it's not scalable. You can't create stability. You can't focus on innovation when you're constantly worried about the nuances of how one company wants to make the button do this, one company wants to make the button do that. So you get this bifurcation in the industry where you have more, I don't want to use the wrong words because it comes across the wrong way, but companies that are really focused on growth and efficiency and scalability, they want WorkWave to do all those things, and they want to go into the future with us. And then you have a group that's not really focused on that. They're more what we call lifestyle companies, and they will then peel off and go down to the startups that'll say, you're going to be our best customer. We'll make it do whatever you want. And they feel loved and cared for, and they feel special. But inevitably, that doesn't work, because you can't scale a software company if you're operating it that way. So now WorkWave is growing, and those are all kind of stagnant and stuck at that lower level. And eventually they start to struggle because of the recession, because they can't grow, they can't bring the resources to bear, and they eventually end up going out of business or selling to somebody.
So David, tell us about the future of where you see, maybe the software with WorkWave going. And again, I know the software means something different to different business owners in where they are, right? Whether it's a lifestyle, business owner, whether it's someone who's growing aggressively, probably like us, we're we're trying to scale quickly, even up to your larger companies that are being taken over by private equity, right? And then you mentioned the technology of them moving forward. Kind of walk us through where you see WorkWave into the future and into the next 5 or 10 years even.
Yeah, such a big question. I mean, because there's a different journey for WorkWave than there is just for WorkWave in the pest control community. Of course, they're very, very linked. I guess I would start answering it by really looking at what's happening in the industry itself. When we talk about the industry and our place in the industry, we really break it down a couple different ways. We look at the arc for enterprise level companies, the larger pest control companies, maybe the top 20, but also the private equity consolidation groups that are coming in. You have to look at where they want to go, because they're focused on much different things than is the middle market or the small business portion of pest control. So we create a strategy for where we're going to go for those three groups independently. What WorkWave has done a great job of in the past 4 years is giving the largest pest control companies and the private equity consolidators confidence that we're the right partner for them. They tend to have much deeper resources in technology and software, so we can interact with them on a much deeper level because they have software professionals inside those companies that we're interacting with almost as peers, and we're crafting the future of WorkWave's role in the partnership with them going out. And I think we've done a good job, and that's why you see PestPac and WorkWave becoming even more dominant in the industry. You know, last year we probably would have said we have 65% of the industry. When we all see each other in Hawaii at Pest World, WorkWave will be over 70% of the industry, because we're widening the gap, because we're much larger, much greater momentum, able to deliver much better innovative technology into the industry. And if you're not on our technology, you're at a real disadvantage suddenly, because it gives a much better employee experience, much better customer experience. And then in the middle market, you're seeing a choice, because if you're much more of an old school thinker, we're right at the beginning of them being left behind, because very aggressive thinking companies, growth oriented, efficiency oriented companies like yours are coming in and creating, they're using technology in a much better way. And that's not to say you need technology to kill bugs, but you need technology to really give the customers the experience they want, the interaction they want, to drive your margin up. Technology is at the heart of all that. So you're seeing this split at the middle market, and WorkWave has to really help the ones that are growth oriented go where they want to go. And the ones that aren't, those are the ones that in truth we're seeing struggle with WorkWave. And when you go down market, our philosophy is much different. We're almost a partner in helping them run their business. We really, they're focused on pest control, and we're focused on helping them build good small businesses that are growth oriented, profitable, so they can ramp up. And you guys are doing that on your own. You're just thinking that way, but a lot of small business owners don't know how to do what you guys are doing. And WorkWave is the group they look to help them do that. And while we do that, WorkWave itself, we are creating an environment where middle market and above especially want to be able to branch out their service offerings in multiple directions. They don't want to be limited to work inside the home. They want to do work outside the home. They don't want to just do pest control. They want to bleed into the green industries, sometimes even a little bit into cleaning. And we need to give them a tool set that helps them grow in any direction they want, and help them grow and be more profitable in those directions and not hinder them. So that's really what we are focused on internally. So a lot of different pieces.
No, absolutely. No, and we can take that, we can break that down and go in several different directions. Let's talk specifically about the customer experience. Okay, customers, buying behavior. I feel like it's changed dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years. You know, again, looking at how you use Amazon to purchase household products compared to running your neighborhood Walmart, you know, 5, 10 years ago, right? And again, I talk about it all the time. You know, I buy air filters, deodorant, whatever on Amazon. I know it could be here in 2 days because it's a very predictable customer experience. Talk about, how you guys see software creating an experience for a customer, again, today and into the future for what they want, right? I mean, customers weren't used to texting or, in the last few years in most industries, right? And now text is getting very common whether it's your dentist confirming a dental appointment, or whether it's using your credit card to buy a service. Everybody was skeptical 10 years ago about giving their credit card, and it's very common now. So talk about how WorkWave is creating a unique experience for the customer. What do customers expect these days?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They expect that Amazon experience, and it took them a while to translate that expectation from Amazon itself into the way any company communicates with them, because service comes from this belief that I show up to the house, I shake the homeowner's hand, I treat pest control, I talk to them about not injuring their cat or their dog or their baby. We build this great relationship. They're happy. The house is safe and all that, and then away the service provider goes, and there's a relationship. But the consumers are moving in a direction where the truth is, most of them, especially the younger you go, they don't really want a relationship. They want easy and simple. And it's a lot easier and simpler when you don't actually have a relationship. You don't need to talk to them. You can just trust the service provider, and they want the information they want in tiny little chunks. And that's why texting is so good for them. And I think we're living through that at WorkWave. At our user conference in January down in Florida this year, we introduced this new cornerstone of PestPac called Communication Center. And Communication Center is the unification of all of the different methods that a customer can communicate with a pest company. So a chatbot on a website, texting, a phone call, an email, all these different modes of communication that a customer might use have to be brought together so that a customer service agent or a dispatcher or a manager in a small business, the phone call comes in or text comes in, they see who is this customer, what are the interactions, what's their mentality right now, what do they need, and how do I respond to them as simply as possible via the method that they chose. Am I texting them back, chatting them back, emailing them back, calling them? And we've created an environment through this module called Communication Center where that's finally possible for the first time. And that took us over a year's worth of development on top of the technology of a company called Slingshot that we bought. So we bought them because they offer a very valuable service that helps pest control companies grow. And they had a core software solution in there that we then worked on for a year to develop CommCenter. And CommCenter in our portfolio of solutions is that thing that will allow a pest control company, but a green company can use it as well, to decide how they want to interact with the customer, to craft that messaging and provide the best customer experience on the terms that that customer wants to interact. And let's say it's an older homeowner where that face-to-face interaction is still important. And the pest control company chooses to give them that interaction, right? Because now you have a choice, where in the old days, you didn't have to think about choice. Right. You solve the pest problem one way. Now you have to solve it based on the customer's terms. So you can bifurcate the homeowner based on even age, for example, and choose to roll trucks more frequently if they're older, to give them that, right? And at the heart of this is technology giving a pest control company or any customer of ours the ability to choose what type of experience they want to give the customer. And I always need to emphasize that choice is hard, because you have to really sit down and think, what type of company am I? What am I really here to do? Am I lowest cost? Am I highest touch? Am I middle ground? Am I only going after certain customers because that makes me more efficient? Am I consolidating the density of my routes because that makes me more profitable? You suddenly have to be a better business owner in how you think about your company. And that's a hard change for some pest control owners.
Absolutely. So it's knowing who you are, right? You can't be everything to everybody, just like you guys can't be everything to everybody, right? You've got your, if you want to call it a niche or whatever. And I think for us, we use a system called EOS as far as the way we manage and run our business. If you've heard that, the entrepreneurial operating system,
Yeah.
our listeners are probably sick of hearing about it. We talk about it all the time, but it really helps us, especially as a startup company, deep dive into like, who are we? Who are we trying to be? Where are we going, right? And for us, one of our core focuses, we want a customer to communicate with us the way they choose to, not the way we want them to. Like if a prospective customer is wanting to start pest control, we would, in an ideal world, we would go with them face to face, at their home. We're building rapport with them. We can cross sell, we can upsell, we can show the value in person. We can, that, right? Yeah. That's our best case scenario, right? What is it for the customer? How do they choose to do business with us, right? I think it's a little narrow-minded I'm not saying just to treat it like it has been in the past, right? Because it was, we can call it old school, is everything in person. But if the customer wants to text us, we should give them a platform to do that. Messages, chat box, everything you just said earlier about the chat box. They can reach us on Facebook. They can reach us on email, text, phone call. They can walk in our office. So they've got all these different options. So it's not about us and how we want to do business. It's about how we're giving them an opportunity to do business the way they want to.
Yeah, there's so much there. So you're trying to communicate them in the way they prefer. The next question as a business owner is, well, how do I do that in an efficient way that doesn't just create so much noise that we can't operate efficiently, we can't focus on margin and profit, because that is really the name of the game, right? You're not just in this to kill bugs, you are in it to build a good, growing, stable, profitable company that as a result gives your customers better service because you have the resources to do that. And our role as a software provider is to package that up in a way that allows you to do that efficiently and effectively and think differently. So all that's happening, but then I show up and I say to an owner like you, I say, to be a little controversial, I say, all that's great, Rusty, but understand 5 years from now, the best company, the best pest control company is the company that never rolls a truck. They never show up to build relationships. And that will be the best pest company. And that's where the leaders in the industry will take this, and we will give them the technology to do that. So it makes it very hard for you to build a business based on customer intimacy, right? Because it's so inherently inefficient. Doesn't mean you can't build a good $3, $4, $5 million pest company that is great at that, but you can't build a $20 million pest company that's great at that because the market has moved on. So when you view the future as radically different than it is today, where the relationship between the service provider and the homeowner is completely bifurcated, there is no bond. How does a company operate in that environment? Because that is where the world of service is going.
So to touch on that a little bit more, elaborate on that. When you say 5 years or whatever, into the future, no trucks rolling on the ground, kind of touch on that some.
Sure. I'll give you an example from an industry that everyone's more familiar with. There was a day that there was a belief that a taxi pulling up to the curb mattered, that there was a relationship between somebody who hailed a taxi and a yellow taxi that you looked at, you were confident, you saw the light on, you knew you weren't going to get robbed or killed. And there was this belief that there was a momentary transactional relationship between taxi and taxi rider. And then technology came to the rescue and said, you know what? The truth is, a person who needs a ride doesn't actually care about the taxi. Many times they even dislike the taxi. It's not maintained properly. They don't always feel safe. They don't know they're not being ripped off. There is a better answer, but the answer is using technology to separate the relationship between the taxi and the taxi rider, the person needing a ride. And that's really what Uber did. Software is the oil or the grease that allows that change to happen when it's happening. So more and more and more, you're seeing a lot of our technical solutions creating more distance between the service provider and the homeowner from a relationship standpoint, because you're building intimacy through very small micro interactions. So how you interact via a chat session, which is probably only going to last you 2 minutes if it's done properly.
Sure, yeah.
And in the 2 minutes, you're going to overcome objections, you're going to close them, you're going to schedule them, and you're going to take payment. And you can't afford to have a human involved. If they are objecting, then it will kick out to a human. And then you're going to use a series of texts to tell them, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is a picture of your technician. Don't they look friendly? And now you need professional pictures of your technicians, right? Like, how many pest companies are thinking the pictures I take of my technicians and load into PestPack actually impact the customer experience? So sometimes you got to tell them to shave or trim the beard, or don't wear your dirty clothes, or iron it on Thursday because we're taking corporate pictures Thursday. Like, they're not thinking of those things as influencing the interaction and the impression the customer's getting. And then we're going to be there today. Then they show up. Okay, then for a brief period of time, you have a good interaction. And how do you upsell them, cross-sell them during that? Because that's what you're in business to do, without making the technician or the homeowner uncomfortable. And then how do you follow up with the right surveys? How do you flow them into a 5-star business review so you're boosting your social presence, which is driving your leads? Like, this is a constant flow that's happening.
Sure, yeah.
That you have to think very holistically about. But the technology has to be working to make as few truck rolls as possible, because you will have technology on site telling you whether or not the conditions exist that require you to show up. And right now you have mostly in pest, you have a contract between homeowner and pest provider, or commercial providers, commercial locations too, that says, I'm going to do 6 treatments a year. Or even in lawn care, I'm going to do 6 treatments of your lawn per year. But that's not what the relationship should be. The relationship should be, I guarantee that you will not have pest problems at your home. It doesn't matter if I show up 1 time or 10 times, you will not have a problem. And when the SLAs or the contracts reflect that, you only need to show up when there's going to be a problem that you need to prevent. So you don't need to roll 6 trucks. You only need to roll 2 trucks. That makes you so much more efficient, so much more capacity to generate more revenue. And that's the future state. So WorkWave's mission is to help our customers grow their business, service their customers, and maximize their money. And that is a very holistic view of how we need to support the customers in the industry. So as people start pest control companies, they're in any service company, but pest control, because we're talking about that, their belief is that what they're doing is solving pest problems, or killing pests, or making grass greener, or cleaning a home, or making an area more secure. That's what they think their job is as a new owner. Just one technician that went to work for a big guy, got certified, now starting their own business. They think they're doing the service, but they're not. What they're doing is building a company. And very quickly they realize that they know how to kill bugs, but they don't know how to grow a company, because they don't understand sales and marketing in today's world. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't succeed digitally and physically too, because that's still very important in pest, you can't grow a business, and very quickly you'll go out of business and you go back to work for one of the other pest providers. So WorkWave is putting probably as much effort today into sales and marketing technology as we are in the operational system of PestPack or Real Green itself. And the ultimate example is the one that you gave, where you have a customer now and you say, well, where did that customer actually come from? How did I get this revenue? Because if this is my best customer and I see how I got that revenue, I can do it again and get many more customers and have great customers. That process in technical terms, in marketing terms, that Maria will shake her head at, is called attribution. Where do I attribute this revenue to? How did it start? Did it start by them seeing something on Facebook? Was it they came to my webpage? Did it come through a Google search? And attribution is like the pinnacle of the pinnacle question in marketing and revenue generation. So at WorkWave, we stepped back several years ago and said, that's where we need to go. We need to give them that, because that is the full circle of how they get a customer, make money through service, and then it spins back out and they get more and more and more. So a year ago, we released a product called Sales Center, and Sales Center plugs into PestPack and Real Green and others. And it gives you the ability to manage your pipeline. And then you'll see us building all these different pieces that are finally here in 2023, starting to come together. So we have a very large print shop tied in, so you can push a button and print and mail or do door hangers, which is they're doing this time of year. You can create digital marketing messages and create program lists and group lists to either turn one-time customers into recurring customers, or pull a new mailing list in and get new customers. But Sales Center is the way that you grow your business if you are a PestPack customer. And it's integrated with our chat bots. It's called Service Bot or Slingshot, which are people that answer the phone for you after hours, weekends. All that has come together. And we finally, just in Q1, connected Sales Center into PestPack in a way that you can actually take a customer from PestPack, and if you're using Sales Center, go back and look at where did that customer come from, so that you have a true ROI on all of your different marketing spend, because the revenue is in the operational system, and the leads and origin is in the sales system. But if you're a WorkWave customer living on WorkWave technology to run your entire business, you can get answers that you can't get by being with multiple different companies. Sure. And more and more and more, what you're seeing is customers migrate to our stack across their business, because we're really trying to double down on that value proposition that if you're in the WorkWave family, you can do more than any of your competitors, like your competitors that aren't. And I've stand on stage many times and say, my job is to give PestPack customers a tangible advantage over every competitor in their local geography that is not using WorkWave. I want to help WorkWave customers crush non-WorkWave customers in pest control in every town in the US. And we do that by creating more synergy through the software. If you're in the family for all of your sales and marketing, all your operational, and then on the back end, online business reviews, surveys, and those things that generate better presence. Absolutely. A long answer, I know, but that is the heart of our strategy right there.
No, absolutely. And that maybe that's what really, I didn't realize it coming into the industry a little over 3 years ago, maybe coming from insurance, obviously, traditionally, whether it's life insurance, home and auto insurance, local insurance agents, right? They're salespeople, right? So it's a sales driven industry, whereas, again, pest control or HVAC or lawn, you think of that as more service, but we have to sell and market to get the customers to be able to service them. And so that's where I've seen the biggest gap coming into this industry. And so we've sort of had to have segmented places where we're doing all this stuff. Like we send out more of a manual daily email through Monday.com personally, to where it shows like, here's where all our salespeople are. Here's where they are for their sales goal for the month. Here's what they're pacing to do. Here's what they're trending to do, right? And then, sales it's a numbers game. If I can quote 10 pest control services to prospects, statistically speaking, we're going to close, 50% of those or 60%, whatever, right? So if one of my sales guys, if their goal is to sell 5 in the week, they need to quote what? 10 prospects. Well, what if they want to sell 10? What do they need to do? Well, they need to quote 20. It's just a math equation. And that's where I've seen the gap. So, my goal is for our salespeople inside and out to literally be able to log in the morning. They log into their app, their computer, whatever, and it tells them what they need to do from an activity standpoint, which drives the result, right? You need to have 10 appointments today based on your closing ratio, which, by the way, it could be different than the next guy sitting right next to you. But based on your close rate, you need to quote 10 people and it'll result in this amount of sales. All right. Well, marketing and lead, where are we going to get those quotes? And that's where all the tracking is happening based on the input. Well, maybe we need to increase this campaign because it's closing at a 80% close ratio versus this one. And so I'm sure I'm talking your language. You understand it. It's just a matter of, for you guys, I'm sure, in the software industry, how do how do you take that, package it in a way that is scalable, that does make sense, to be able to
Yeah.
provide that to your customers?
Yeah, the customers think it's easier than it actually is, because they don't live in our world, just like I really don't live in your world. So they wonder how come it takes so long. But remember, there's good and bad to every software package that's out there, and every company like WorkWave. PestPack has been dominant for 25 years, and so therefore it's a beast. And you are modernizing and unraveling spaghetti and throwing the spaghetti out at the same time. You're building that next evolution that the customers are asking for. So you have to clean up after yourself as you go forward, so that you're not making the mess worse, or as we say, you're not digging the hole deeper, you're filling it in. And we've finally gotten to a point where we're really filling in the hole in big chunks now. And you're starting to see us answer that question, because you talked about the mechanics of the salespeople and how they operate, which is different than how the technician operates in the field. So are you working with a partner, a technology partner like WorkWave or one of the others, that can help you not just improve the efficiency of your operation, but also of your sales operation? And then is that provider able to give you the technology that manages the pipeline, and that manages the digital and physical aspects of it? And then at the end, you talked about the management process of figuring out where the best leads actually came from. Right now, there's no other company of our competitors that can give you attribution, that can tell you the money you spent way upstream over there resulted in this exact customer in this home, and this is what you've done for them, and this is how you turned them into a highly profitable recurrent customer. What is that perfect line? And now your job is to make your company do it as many times as possible. Get that perfect customer over and over and over and over. And so when you step back, you say, well, PestPack has 65% of the pest industry on its technology. That's an unheard of market share, right? I mean, all the others are sharing 45%. I mean, when you start to think about, that's crazy amount of dominance. And then you say, well, how is that company, this year it's going to be 70%, and next year it's going to be 75%. How is that possible? It should not be possible. And it's happening because we're starting to solve these bigger problems, and we're at a scale now where we can solve big, large, complex problems. And I've been here 4 years, and we've been at solving them for 4 years, and we're getting better and better and better. So you're seeing us gaining momentum and actually creating more separation from all of our competitors, because they simply don't have the capacity to answer large, complex questions. And then you throw in a recession after COVID, and now you throw in a bank crash. And some of them have had very flawed strategies of growth at any cost, and they're starting to crumble. They're losing key employees, they're doing layoffs, right? That's not the world of WorkWave. We're growing our employee base. We're profitable, we're growing our customer base, we're modernizing technology. The strategy that we adopted over the course of 4 years of a relatively conservative mindset of profitable growth is starting to benefit our customers. Because if you're on a platform and that platform fails and goes into turmoil and lays off their employees, your business starts to suffer. And that's not something that the pest community had to worry about before. But all these large macro changes has led up to a point where bad businesses are going out of business. So it's such a time of change.
No doubt, no doubt. Man, this has been really, really good conversation. I think we're on the same wavelength. No pun intended there.
There you go.
Again, the way the world's changing, it is changing fast, and the technology is not to. I don't believe technology is meant to replace a relationship, but I think it can enhance it, right? And if we're not there to enhance the relationship and to serve a customer the way the world is changing, then we're going to get left behind, right? I think one of the reasons I got into this industry, because I don't see technology, replacing a technician, or we call them service professionals. They're at the home necessarily, treating the home and whatnot. one day, obviously there could be drones out there and they're, that's on into the future, but for the foreseeable future, we're going to have human interaction in a service-based business. I'm a big proponent of using this technology in a way that enhances that experience. Doesn't replace it, but it enhances it.
Yeah, the human interaction of service is never going to go away, but the type of interaction is fundamentally changing. And I'll give you two examples in hopes that it'll make owners step back and say, you really have to think about how this change is going to change their business and how they need to adapt to it. If you're a 20-something person right now and you're at dinner with your parents and you're on your phone, your parents are saying to you, get off your phone, join the conversation, be with people. And you know how that 20-something person feels? They say, you know what? I am interacting with you. And at the same time, I'm interacting with 5 of my friends over my phone. I'm so much more social than you are, sitting over there in your chair, just talking to me. In their mind, they are more social than the parent that is complaining to them about not being social, because the whole construct of how they think of social interaction is different. And if you take that out to somebody who's under 10 years old, or certainly under 5 years old, and you have kids, you go on a business trip, when you call home, you FaceTime. So as that infant or child grows right now, and they think of interacting with somebody, they will never understand that there was a time you would communicate with somebody that you couldn't see. They simply will not think of voice interaction as a real conversation, right? The technology is influencing the nature of those interactions. And in order to meet the customer where the customer wants to be met, which is the foundation of the relationship, whether we like it or not going forward, we have to understand how technology is going to influence that. It's still interaction. It still is customer intimacy. It's just very different than the intimacy that I thought of growing up, or maybe that you thought of growing up.
Absolutely. And Maria, you raised your hand. I don't on the Zoom call here. I don't know if you have something to comment, or maybe you were the millennial or that we were talking about here. Do you have any feedback for us, Maria?
No, I think that you're so right. And people like to claim social media or just having your phone in general as a disruptor, but it's a way for people to connect. And it's a way for me to connect with my grandma who's 80 years old, and it's just crazy because when I'm a communications major, and a lot of the books we were reading at the time, I graduated in 2018. This was all just coming to fruition. And It's crazy that we are a part of history and we're seeing it just evolve so quickly. You start to wonder what it's going to look like in the next 5 years. I mean, I'm eventually going to be standing in the living room with you having a conversation. I just think it's so cool. And to Rusty's point, we're kind of tailoring our experience based off of what our customer wants. And I think it's cool to even have that option. Like, you would think my 80-year-old grandma wants that face-to-face interaction. She doesn't want you standing in her house. She doesn't want small talk with you. She wants you in and out, and she wants to give feedback when it's needed and go on with her day. So it's really cool that we get to tailor, that experience. And Amazon, you said the Amazon experience earlier. That's exactly who I think people are trying to replicate. And just imagining how ahead of the curve they were and having all these fresh ideas with, your team, it's going to be really cool to see what it looks like for pest control.
Yeah, service is very personal because you're standing in somebody's home and you're solving a problem for them. And that's at the heart of it. Mm-hmm. But it's not just about that one service interaction. The customer experience is about all of the interactions, from the first time your brand makes an impression through all of those digital and physical interactions, all the way out to the back end, because at the back end, you want to turn a one-time customer into a recurrent customer, because that's the way to make your pest control company the most valuable and to make you benefit the most when you choose maybe to sell it or hand it down to your kids. It's also interwoven. And from WorkWave's perspective, our job is to help our customer base utilize and change and grow in all those directions. And a lot of times in interviews like this, I'm just passionately trying to tell ownership, look, you need to wrap your hands around this and accept it and embrace it, because if not, you will be left behind. Not next year, maybe, but boy, the industry is starting to change.
No doubt. And I think 14 years ago when I got into the insurance industry, I was part of a group and was surrounded around like-minded individuals like you, David, and they were showing the writing on the wall on how technology was changing the buying behavior of buying home and auto insurance, right? So traditionally 15 years ago, you're buying it, walking into a local, insurance agent's office. And
Crazy.
now it's like, we still sell a lot over the phone, but if the consumer has choices, they can buy it directly without ever speaking to a person, right? And 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Michael Jans, who I've mentioned on this show before, he was a thought leader then, sort of painting the picture of like, guys, this is where the world is going, right? It's not replacing us, but if you're not in tune with this technology for digital online experience and these sort of things, you're going to get left behind. And we're seeing it. We're seeing a lot of disruption in the insurance industry because of that.
Yeah.
Insurance isn't going away. Protection's not going away, but the way it's being purchased, the way it's being serviced, the relationship between the carrier and the consumer are absolutely changing. And so I think you're hitting the nail on the head. You're certainly a thought leader within this industry. Yeah. David, look, we really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You guys have grown from 50 to 400 million in a super short amount of time. Appreciate all you guys do for the industry, the value that you bring. And I don't know, the next time I'll see you may be physically in Pest World in Hawaii.
Yeah, there's worse places to share a drink and say hello.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks again for your time, and we will talk soon.
Anytime. Happy to do it. Thanks, Rusty. Thanks, Maria.
Bye.